Greetings, viewers, and welcome once again to yet another episode of Healing Families with Pastor Zandi Thwala. I am very privileged to be here today to speak to all of us on marriages and hopefully contribute to the well-being of families out there. We understand that the reason that it's important for us to have conversation around the well-being of families is because at the core of any society or community is the family unit. And family units begin not with children, but with a couple. If we can get it right and be healthy in our relationships, then we are able to, in turn, raise children who grow up in healthy environments, and they are able to be positive contributors to society after that. So I believe that as we do this, as we take time to have these important conversations, we are healing entire communities. And I'm just excited to be a part of that. Today, we're going to be having a question and answer session. I'm thankful for the viewers who have managed to ask some questions, and by the grace of God, I believe that we will answer effectively the questions that have been asked. The first question today is, what do you do if you have been with someone for many years and because they've been with you for a long time, they are prejudiced against you? For example, when you tell them that you will lose weight, eat healthy, start jogging, they simply tell you that you will not make it because they've seen you start and try and fail numerous times. This is a big one because as long as we live together, we get to a point where we feel like we know each other. You know, you feel like I've seen my spouse try and fail. I know that they always have new fads. You know, this week they're big on this. The next week they've given up on that and they start on this. It's very easy to become a source of discouragement in someone's life. The word prejudice in itself suggests that you are prejudging the person. They don't have a clean slate with you anymore because you know past behavior. But I want to encourage you to make an intentional effort not to operate from a place of prejudice. In a relationship, you're the biggest cheerleader for your spouse. They don't have someone who can encourage them or discourage them better than you. As long as you are married to someone, what that person says to you is very, very important. And if they are able to, if they're able to speak over your life, speak positive things into your life, despite your numerous failures, then you are able to become everything that you intend to be. Take, for example, I've been married for 27 years. I say this all the time. I've been married for 27 years, and I know that at the onset of our relationship, there were so many things that I thought I would be. I hadn't found myself. I hadn't found my footing in life. So I was trying this and trying that. And I'm going to be honest with you and say, what I received from my husband was positive reinforcement. He would always tell me that, no, you can make it. You can sell ice to an Eskimo. He was always telling me that I was better at everything that I was doing. Even despite the fact that I was trying and failing, I was not hearing negative words from him. I was hearing him encourage me to be better. And believe it or not, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at right now, with the person that I have become and am continuing to become. But that would not have been possible if I wasn't with someone who was constantly encouraging me despite my many failures. As long as we're together, you are privy to my shortcomings, I will start on a diet and give up on a diet. I will start jogging and eventually just give up on it. If you tell me that that's who I am, you confine me to that person and you actually expose me because I'm now suddenly needing affirmation and validation from everywhere else because I'm not getting it from you. And you actually are exposing our marriage because then I might find myself leaning on someone else who is not my spouse for that. I encourage every couple to be careful about what they say to each other. Even if your spouse has been trying this and then, they failed at it. I think my husband is very innovative. He'll try anything. Currently, he has started doing upholstery. He's making headboards, couches, because he's just creative and talented like that. And My experience with him has been that he is able to start things and then he gets bored with them and he moves on to the next. I'm not criticizing him for that. I celebrate the fact that he's able to start things. He's a groundbreaker. He's not afraid of anything. And I've actually recognized that my place in his life is to help complete those projects that he begins and then gets bored with. And, so he'll start doing something, he'll leave it, but I'm always ready to get people who will then run with it from there to make sure that the business continues to stand and continue to strive. Why? Because in a marriage, you're supposed to complement each other, not tear each other down and criticize each other. So I encourage you not to allow yourself to get to that place where you become prejudiced. I've personally had a battle with weight loss for a very, very long time. I'm very happy that I don't live with someone who's continuously telling me that I will fail. Actually, I'm the one who has given up, who feels like I really don't want the difficult route anymore. There's other easier routes. I'd really want to take those. My husband is the one who's like, you are good at everything. You can do this. If you put your mind to it, you can do it. And it's refreshing to live with someone who actually believes in you. So if you want to have a healthy relationship, please start believing in your spouse and stop speaking negative words that are discouraging and hurtful to them. The second question, what if my spouse isn't open to expressing his or her affection in a way that I can receive? They are not interested in growing to meet my needs. Again, this is a very important one. I know that as we journey as a couple, it's very easy for us to grow apart, not because we don't love each other, but because the one spouse is being exposed to truths that the other spouse is not being exposed to knowledge, is being exposed to knowledge, is being empowered in ways that another spouse is not being empowered. This is very, very dangerous and detrimental to the relationship. It's very important that you strive to grow together. So if you're listening to material on even eating healthy, it's going to be so much easier to introduce a lifestyle change where we're eating healthy if both of us have become aware how important it is for us to eat healthy. It's the same with relationships. We grew up being taught in the church that a wife is supposed to submit herself to the authority of the husband. Ephesians 5:22, there was, pastors would just nail it, tell women how they're supposed to submit themselves to the authority of their husbands. And for the longest time, that's all that we knew. And because that's all that we both knew, we were trying to survive. Our marriage was easier because we believed the same thing. But when I discovered that, no, actually the Bible doesn't say that. It says, submit yourselves one to another. Your husband has occasion to submit to you. It's not about women just being told what to do all the time. My husband had to upgrade as well. We both had to delve into that subject, do our research, do our prayers, and really, go into understanding what it means to submit one to another. And that's the only reason that there still is harmony in my marriage. Otherwise, if I had become the wife who understands that he's supposed to submit himself to me, and he had no understanding, it would have created such animosity and such a gap between us. My point is, you need to grow together. If your spouse feels like this is how you're supposed to be meeting my needs, for instance, women are generally, they want affection, they want attention. A lot of times men feel like, I bought you a nice car, I've given you a nice home, I've expressed how much I love you. But that's not what the woman wants. She wants your time, she wants your devotion, your affection, and your attention. If you are loving her, but not according to her love language, then you are not loving her. The only way that you love a person is according to their love language. If you want to love your spouse and you want them to know how much they are loved, it's important for you to sit down and actually gain understanding of how they want to be loved. How can I express myself in such a way that you feel that I actually love you and I'm devoted to you? You're not going to have a healthy relationship unless you make that commitment. There's something else that we've been teaching about recently in all our couples meetings. We've been talking a lot about the difference between headship and leadership, because there was a misconception for the longest time that as long as you are the head of the family, you are the leader in the family. The grace to lead the family is upon you. And we used the word headship and leadership synonymously, and we were erroneous when we did that. I'm not going to delve into that today. It's a story for another day. But my point is, there is knowledge, there is light, there is truth that creates a rift between you if you don't embrace it together. So the person here was asking that if my spouse is not open to expressing his or her affection in a way that I can receive it, and they're not interested, what am I supposed to do? And my answer to you is help your spouse to get to a common knowledge, understanding that you can't love me your way. You need to love me my way. That often has a lot to do with taking time to read, taking time to attend marriage seminars, taking time to actually just get material such as the material that is being offered to you right now, so that there's a reconciliation in how you think, and hence a reconciliation in how you live your lives. Moving along to question number 3. Question number 3 is, when is it time to give up on a change? When is it time to just throw the towel in and realize and recognize that the change that you want in your spouse is not going to happen? There are different types of situations. There are situations where you give up on the change, but there are situations where you can never give up on the change. The fight is on. The quest to get to a place of reconciliation must be on for the rest of your lives, as long as you're married. I'm going to try and give a line of demarcation here. When I got married in 1993, I was of the idea that we would enjoy a very blissful romantic life. We would enjoy romantic getaways. My husband would plan these amazing trips. I really, really thought that I would be coming home to romantic surprises, and I was very disappointed to find that my husband's brain doesn't function that way. I wanted him to surprise me. I wanted him to be creative in how he surprised me. I wanted everything that I'd seen in movies and read about in novels. And I remember trying to get him to do those things. I would tell him that I need you to be more romantic. I need you to just plan a surprise, you know? And each time I suggested something, he would do it to the letter. And then that would not be romantic, because it wasn't even a surprise. It was so predictable. It was exactly what I had asked for, to the letter. And eventually I had to realize, after some years, I realized that this guy is great, but this is not going to happen. And because it wasn't what you call a deal breaker, you know, I was able to accept that he is never going to be Mr. Romantic. And I was able to celebrate his other strengths, which more than compensate for his shortcoming, what I want to refer to as his shortcoming. So it's something that I just accepted about him. There are many things over the years that I've had to accept. I've had to just, you know, acknowledge that my husband is never going to be this guy. It's not who he is. It's not how he does things. And it's all things that I am comfortable with accepting. They're not deal breakers. They're not major. They're not core to the marriage covenant. But then there are other things that I could have accepted and I wouldn't have a marriage. For instance, my husband used to believe that he doesn't talk. He doesn't like talking. Now, you're not going to have a marriage if you don't talk. You're not going to be happily married. You're not going to have a marriage if you're not willing to communicate. So with that one, I had to insist on it. I had to say, no, it actually doesn't matter that you feel like this. This is what needs to happen. And the temptation at some point is to feel like, I've said this so many times and it hasn't brought about the desired results. I remember that another area of challenge that I'm actually remembering right now was the area of accountability. My husband loves to kind of be able to just do what he wants to do, you know, and not have to always explain, especially when it comes to spending money and things like that. He feels like the big things, yes, let's talk about that, but the smaller things, and smaller is a relative term, because when we had less money, then smaller was way less money. But the more money you have, then obviously, you know, you are able to make leeway for even more money. But anyway, the point is, my husband would agree with me that we're going to spend money a certain way, and then I'd find that he deviated from the agreement. And at some point, I got tempted not to challenge that, because I was feeling like, what is the point? We've had so many conversations around this, and it's just something he struggles with. But I remember that the Holy Spirit literally would be there telling me that you can't let this go, because it's a flaw in the very character of the person. And as a helper, you can't give up on calling him to a higher place, calling out the gold in him. You can't agree with the enemy that he's not able to do things the right way. So I persisted. I would be like, no, you don't get to deviate. If we agree, you must honor your word. I must be able to trust your word. When you tell me something, I need to believe that you are going to be able to do it. I mean, we did this for years before we arrived at a place where I could see actual improvement. So marriage is for the long haul. It's not easy, because sometimes the change you desire is not going to happen immediately. Don't give up on your spouse, especially when they're doing something that is wrong, even biblically. Like, it's wrong to go back on your word, because that's lying. You know, you need to be someone who's trustworthy. But if you have a spouse who says, you know, they've given up on you. They just think that you're a bad person. They don't believe in you enough to keep saying you can do better than this, and keep calling you to do better than that, you know? And basically, my advice to you is, please do not give up on the change if it's something that goes to the character of the person and it has something to do with maybe moral standards. If it's a deal breaker, if it's something major, don't give up. And that means for years you might be persistently trying to get the person to get something. Just ask God for the grace and the patience. And as you grow, I must be honest with you, the things that you are very sensitive about and very emotional about, it becomes, you begin to tone down. You find yourself toning down. Your sensitivity dial, you know, you're not as heated about things, so you are able to push yourself a little longer, you know, just there patiently encouraging your spouse to do better and waiting on a change. And sometimes after many years, you see the change that you desire. Marriage is about staying in there for the long haul. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And it's important for you to understand that. Don't expect quick change, otherwise you're going to be miserable. And with those words, we've come to the end of our show. We're going to continue with the question and answer session even in our next show. God bless you.